Good afternoon. Market movers pushed back a little bit, but we are here. I had a couch delivered. Justin, what have you been up to this afternoon? You finally get some lunch?
I actually didn't. I really probably should have, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it live. I grabbed a quick snack. But yeah, no, it's been a fun day for me. Been hopping in and out of shows, Twitter Spaces, meetings, the usual. I have a million and one things to do. I don't really know where the time goes anymore. It feels like just yesterday I was just, randomly posting in Discords, and now we're here talking about the future of Sportsline and Jesus, but excited to be here with everybody. I love market movers. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love breaking down all the games, talking about the ones that interest us the most. So let's get into it. I'm excited to see what we got today. I actually haven't even looked at your sims yet. That's how crazy of a morning it's been for me. But let's pull up those bad boys and let's get started.
Yeah, there are some big games in terms of interest and some pretty meaningful market movement we've seen already on some of them. But yeah, here are my simulations. For those of you that are new, they are from my computer model. Some people get them confused. These are not the Sportsline simulations. Some of the games will match up very closely. Some of them will not. Just another tool that you can use. Always recommend checking multiple models if you have access to them. But these are my numbers for the college basketball slate. Typically going to be sorted by the rank, by the spread, but some of them at the top are shifted towards games that I have interest in or we think you might have some interest in. But here they are. You can get them on Discord every single day if you want to. Subscribe to the channel on Twitch, but you can do that all through Discord. I will drop the Discord link. It is in the description of this video, but I will also drop it in the chat at some point during the show. Justin, where do you want to start? You want to start by the computer, by the model and go down? You want to start by game time?
Probably. I feel like we might want to save some of these big games. Well, you know what? Let's start with the fun ones. Let's start right at the top of the model. Let's see
fortunately, if we pick both of them, Villanova Xavier is the first game in terms of start time and most exciting
either way
game
we're
of
talking
the night,
about this
according to the model. So I think we have to start there.
Agreed.
Let me remove this branding that is covering the total on the one game. There we go. All right. So my model makes this one Xavier minus half a point, basically. Minus 0.6, 137.2 is the total. And wouldn't you know it, the market has essentially moved it to where my number is. Earlier this morning, you guys talked about this on the Sportsline Early Edge briefly, because there were a few questions in that chat about it. At that time, Xavier was a +1 underdog. It has flipped to a -1 favorite. It's meaningful movement, but it's not like significant. I am on the Xavier side, which is surprising because I've backed Villanova a few times this season so far. So love your take on it if you have one at all. I believe I'm pretty much dead on market on the total. So there's really not much to play here, unfortunately, at this point, but love your take on the game either way.
So, my only worry is that this is kind of like a task that Xavier has struggled to be up to the last few meetings. Nova has won the last 4 times these teams have met. You get into conference play. It's not just about, one specific thing. This coaching becomes involved and knowing the opponent's schemes. And we play this team 2 times a year, sometimes more if we meet them in the conference tournament. This is a big deal. This is going to be a big game. I think we're going to have a tight one, but I personally I'm not betting on it. I said that this morning on the show. it's a little too close for comfort here for me. I would probably lean Xavier to get it done at home. They are 7-2 against the spread at home, 9-0 straight up at home. So they have performed very well. Nova is 3-3 in games away from home, so they could lose this. So yeah, I think my lean is Xavier, but my gut feeling says stay away because Nova could just, show their dominance, be the team that they are in the Big East and get this important win. This would be a big resume builder for either team to win. This is an important game. So very excited to watch this one at 6:30.
I've talked about how I backed Villanova, right? I was trying to remember what game it was. It was that Creighton game, right? They got blown out by 20 at Creighton. Market had them at 10.5, and we sat here on Market Movers, and I told you I like Villanova minus 10.5, and Creighton was the side that everybody was all over. We saw that the market did not move based on that 20-point blowout on the road in Creighton.
Right.
What do you know? They come out, they crush Creighton, 75-41 victory. Same kind of thing here a little bit. This one, it's interesting because these two teams have already played. They played on December 21st. Xavier
Nova
lost.
Won. Right.
Yeah, Nova won. It was 71-58. Xavier was a 5.5-point dog at Villanova, and now they're going to close as a minus 1.5 favorite, basically 7 points. Not unusual. We would expect about 6 in college basketball from home to away. These kind of schools, these kind of teams, I would expect about 6 points is what it to truly be, which is obviously significantly more than some of the other sports that we're used to dealing with. But it's interesting to note that Villanova seems to be in a little bit better form now, than they were for a little bit. And coming off that double-digit win where they were only 5.5-point favorites, now they are going to close as plus 1.5 underdogs. Very, very interesting. I only make Xavier minus 6. If this thing gets to -2 on the Xavier side, I don't typically recommend buying back in when the market has made a very clear suggestion to you that it's against your stance. But this is one instance where I would probably feel pretty okay backing Villanova at +2 or greater.
Yeah, this is gonna if Xavier is winning, they're probably doing this by the hair of their necks. Like I would be, I don't know. There's definitely a lot of variance in this one. You could see some weird results. It wouldn't really shock me to see Xavier do it by more, but like the way that the numbers are saying they're going to do it, it would be close. And again, that's kind of how we bet. I saw a lot of mixed opinions online yesterday about this game. This is the game of the day. Essentially, this is like the top 2 teams by average ranking in most systems. So, I think Xavier probably has a bit of an advantage at home. We've seen home teams doing pretty well right now. So I would probably take them to win. I probably like the money line for Xavier before I go and take the spread. I don't know if they get this done by 2. They could pretty easily win this in a 1-point game. So,
yep. All right. We're going to hit one more big game right off the top. We're going to talk about a lot of these games, but we have to talk LSU Florida. We got some audience in here that wants to talk about this. Yeah. I know you're going to have to talk about it. Everyone's talking about this game. We've seen some pretty strong line movement in the favor of Florida. I believe this one is all the way up to -3. It's -3 currently for Florida. It's, in my opinion, it's approaching the territory of being an overreaction. Look, I've liked this Florida team. I have, right? So the only time that we didn't like them was against Bama. We talked about this one on Market Movers as well. Bama thought we were getting a little disrespected. Good bounce back spot for them. Bama went in there and 1.5-point underdogs, won by 13.
Yep.
This LSU team. So before the day, I made them -4 in this matchup. Xavier Pinson out for LSU. Not going to pretend like it's not a big deal. Like it is meaningful. But I think that it is a little overstated at this point. I've seen a number of models that are also were similar to that -4 range that I'm at. We're basically looking at a 5.5 to 7-point move. Pinson, really? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little overstated at this point. Very similar to the Nova situation, frankly. Market is saying one thing.
This is how it works.
Yeah. So let's hear your
This
thoughts.
is
To me, market is saying one thing, and now that we're getting plus, it's over a full possession
+3 is
basically.
too much.
Like
Yeah.
LSU.
Yeah, no, I mean, I took it at 2.5 this morning. I liked it at 1.5 last night. I understand why there's going to be some market reaction to Pinson being out. He is a great defensive player, averaging over 2 steals a game. But they have another guard who also averages over 2 steals a game. They have, I think, like 5 players who average over a steal a game. This is a very deep defensive roster. Look, this is going to be a big game for Florida. Don't get me wrong. This is not a small game for Florida. They need to pad their resume if they have any hopes of getting an at-large bid. Otherwise they're going to be making a run for the tournament, and they're not winning this SEC tournament this year. They're not. Auburn looks so good. Alabama looks good. Even LSU looks good. So they're in trouble. They need to put together a strong season to have a chance at the postseason here. So this is going to be a big game for Florida. So I understand why they might be getting the home favorite line here. But again, 3 points, like you said, Mike, that's more than a bucket. This LSU team is a great defensive unit, maybe a better defensive unit than they are an offensive unit. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them give Florida problems. I actually still make them a big threat to win this game. They've only lost 1 game on the year. And if you think that's only because of one player, I personally would say that you're wrong. It's more than that. They're going to have guys who can step up. They have some sophomore and freshman guards who are going to get some time. Some of them already were getting time, but I don't know. I'm not backing down. I get it, but everybody knew Pinson was out. He got hurt in that last game. It wasn't like this is some surprise that the initial lines and the models were not aware of. So this feels like it's just still too big of an overreaction. I think I make it about probably like -2.5, -3 or so at the moment, based on how things have moved today. But still, I mean, that's for LSU, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm basically LSU -1, and that's been a pretty, I made the adjustment for sure. I'm very interested to see how, I'm interested in this LSU team long term, obviously, the season, but I think this is a really kind of a good test for them in a sense. So Eric Gaines is likely the guy that really has to step up in this spot. He's been okay, but the issue is he doesn't take care of the ball very well. I'm wondering if getting to play a little bit more in this top unit here, if he's going to be able to step up. I don't think he will, but just having this overall challenge, I think it can be great for them as they just continue to add more depth throughout the rest of the season. I like LSU now at +3 at this point. I probably wait on it because it doesn't show any signs of bouncing back the other way. I would be pretty stunned if we saw 3.5s, but I don't think you have to rush to the market to put it in right now.
I mean, 3.5 is a big number, right? Because that is a guaranteed, like, a 1 possession game you win. So it is usually that's a pretty interesting hump to get over. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't. There could definitely be action. People love a good story. Somebody's out. Let's go take the other side. But this is not a bad team. This is not a bad program. This is a well-coached unit. And that matters a lot in college basketball. They're going to figure out ways to still get buckets. I mean, Pinson is a 10.4 assist guy. It's not like he's responsible for more than 25 points a night here. I mean, yes, being responsible for 18
third leading
points
scorer, I believe. Yeah.
Right. 18 points 18 to 19 points of responsibility is like a big deal. But I don't think that they're going to, lose 6 points there. They're not going to find players who fill in that time who only get 12 points of production. They're going to get those guards to get up to like 2 or 3 assists combined and probably like 6 to 8 points, and they'll be fine. They probably would have been 2 point, 3 point, 4 point favorites with him in potentially. So I don't think that this should be a 4 or 5 point swing because of one guy. Like, it's just never should be that. Unless they're like literally NBA quality superstar potential type of players. But not going to see too many of those this season, but yeah.
And then I guess last thoughts on it, like what quality wins really even does Florida have this year? Lost to Auburn, lost to Alabama, lost to Maryland, lost to Oklahoma. The only good win they have is Ohio State. And that was back right before Thanksgiving. So yeah, I'm just a little skeptical of that team personally. So we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, the market has made their stance, but at this point, I do like LSU +3.
They also lost to Texas Southern, which is pretty bad. So yeah, their best wins They're
They were
not
23 and a
looking
half
great.
point favorites in that game that they lost.
Yeah, and they lost by 15. Yeah, they lost to USF. Oh no, they beat USF, but they only beat USF by 11, and USF's terrible. They destroyed Troy, and even then they should have an efficient game against Troy. Good win against Cal. Stony Brook they should destroy. Milwaukee they should destroy. Florida State's probably their best win of the season. Man, I don't know. They're ranking at like 33rd or so right now. Really doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. They have really bad momentum. Their strength of schedule has been terrible. Like you said, they haven't played good teams. Meanwhile, LSU probably on the opposite side of that. Really nice strength of schedule. Really nice in everything. One of the top efficiency teams in the nation. I'm backing them. I think they win the game.
Yep. Want to Memphis UCF or
Let's do it.
What kind of order are you going in?
Let's do it.
Perfect.
I mean, I have a couple plays that I'll definitely want to get to. I didn't put my non-model plays on Twitter today because I really did want to kind of get to them here first, and then I'll drop them. I do like to give the people who watch the content that little leg up before we get into everything. So definitely appreciate you all being here. Thank you for hanging with us as we break the slate down. But yeah, let's keep talking about some of these big games. I mean, you see this is only like some of the lines that we have, right? Like this goes all the way down. It is a big slate, 40 plus games today. But let's talk Memphis UCF. I think this is a pretty interesting game. I mean, you have this at almost a dead heat here.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty close to market on this one as well.
I gotta pull it up really quick.
Yeah, this Memphis team
UCF is +1.
Some of the models that we follow, obviously, I'll say the Sportsline model has a little bit different score. They have UCF winning. I make Memphis -1 in this game, total right at 150. The market's at 150.5 on it. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it other than we know that the Memphis roster is very talented. They struggle to get a lot out of that talent. It's obviously kind of been the knock on them. I think as you see our man Tim in the chat, what up, Tim? Big Discord fan member. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, he says it kind of perfectly. Memphis, it's kind of what I was saying. All the talent in the world that doesn't seem to materialize a lot of the time. They're very sloppy. They turn the ball over a lot. I think that he's correct in that UCF will generate enough turnovers to at least make this game competitive.
I like UCF. I think
okay.
I lean UCF. I think they probably win this game at home. Honestly, I think it's a sneaky money line. I don't know. I mean, covering obviously if you want to take the push on that 1 point loss, but I don't like that. I don't like paying for that there. I feel like that's essentially buying a point from the book when you're essentially playing for them to win. If you win your bet anyway, right? Same win condition. You need to win the money line, you need to win the game. So I don't love paying for the push condition because what we're trying to gamble on is the UCF win on either bet. So I'd probably take them money line. You're gonna save some money, and in the long run, that's gonna make you a more effective and profitable bettor by playing that way. So yeah, I think Memphis continues to struggle. UCF probably has this game circled. This is a big game. Memphis is a big opponent, big basketball school. I think UCF wants this one today. I'm with Mr. Splant here. It's UCF, and we'll see if Memphis can keep it clean. But that's not an official pick. It's not even a non-official pick. It's just a pretty strong lean for me.
Perfect. I guess we'll hit the next big game. It's right at the top. It's also earlier in the night. Duke, Wake Forest. This one is fascinating, especially if you watch the early edge today when Zach was on and talked about some of those trends in terms of how Duke has struggled in this time of the year, and particularly just like early to mid-January, just been absolutely atrocious historically. It looks like my model would have a pretty okay lean on Wake Forest. I think that game is sitting at 6 most places in the market. Maybe have a slight lean on the over as well. Do you agree with that? Do you want any part of fading Duke in this spot? How do you trust Wake Forest at all?
It's not about trusting Wake Forest here as much as it is about, Duke being probably overrated and a favorite. I think this one probably needs to be about 3 or 4 points. My model probably would have it around 4.5 through 4, I think is about where I would say it's closest to. I'm seeing a lot of 4 out there. I know, like, if you follow Haslametrics, who's actually had a little bit of an inaccurate year by what I've been able to track, he's been pretty partial towards favorites this season in terms of the way his model works. But he actually has Wake Forest as a 1-point underdog. So he has this as a 1-point game, which is a big edge there. Ken Pom has this at 4. I don't know if you know of Bart Torvik, but he has this as a 2-point Duke win. Shot quality though is a 10-point Duke win. But if you believe, yeah, I know that's you can always.
So it sounds like I'm pretty close. I like where I'm at a lot then at 4.95. Yeah. I would say my number's probably closer to true when the market's at 6 right now. Then.
I agree. I think you get about that point shade with Duke. It's you're basically paying an extra point anytime you're betting on Duke.
Sure,
it is the way I see it. So it's very hard to take them. You have to have an even bigger edge on them. And since I'm already leaning Wake, it's probably going to be Wake Forest. But this might be another bet where you can wait, because I don't really see any signs of it going back towards Wake. I mean, even if we sat here and said, "Oh, well, no, we're definitely on Wake Forest tonight +6," I'd be shocked.
If you like Wake Forest at all, I would consider grabbing it right now.
Yeah. Okay.
9 minutes ago, Mike Krzyzewski out tonight's game with a non-COVID illness, but he will not be coaching on the sidelines tonight. So that'll be fun to watch any potential market movement in the next 5 or 6 minutes. College sports, it does not move quite as quickly as the NBA or NFL in terms of the market and books moving things around. But I think we could see a half point. I think it could go to 5.5 anyway, which is going to put it even closer to where my simulation is. So just notice that Coach K is out for Duke tonight. Came out about 9 minutes ago. Supposedly a non-COVID related illness that will keep him off the sidelines tonight.
Nice. I'm gonna put my classic 0.2 bet on it. I'm gonna take some model movement, market movers, money making, like we could call it whatever we want. But no, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit here. I don't hate the play. The models definitely lean not UCF. I'm looking at the wrong game. Look, Wake Forest. This is home teams, conference play, big games circled on the calendar. They're not going to care that Coach Krzyzewski's not there. You gotta be Duke. I don't know if they're gonna, but I think this one could very easily finish at 4 or 5. Probably where I would put it at 4.5. So. You know what? Small sprinkle. It's a little too small for what I normally bet, but let's be a little reckless. Let's have some fun. Should be a fun night of college basketball. But all right, I'm not really too interested in Louisville, NC State, to tell you the truth, Mike. I don't know if you really want to talk about that. I don't know. What do you think?
Let's see. I thought it might have been one that there was a model discrepancy, but maybe there wasn't. Slightly. So it's leaning Louisville -6. Another home team. Think they're going to cover -7.7 is my number on it. Very slight lean on the under, but yeah, it'd be a lean on Louisville. That's about all I got on that one though.
Yep. No real feel for me. Not going to really mess with that. But there is that interesting game there that you have. We're going to maybe skip a few, try to get into. We can't. Covering 40 games would take 2 hours, and we're not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that today. Like, if you have a game you really want to see, drop it in the chat, and we will most likely talk about it. But we will not touch them all. Again, you can download this little file on the Discord server. Just a note, you will have to subscribe to the Twitch channel. You can do it for free if you have Amazon Prime. But you will need to subscribe to the channel. We do like to have some barrier to entry, as it keeps the trolls away and keeps everything functioning pretty smoothly.
And when it's free with Amazon Prime, it's
right. It's free. It's literally free if you have Amazon Prime.
I use my Amazon Prime still because I like to support the brand. No, but it's also easy. And what else do I use my Amazon Prime sub on? But all right, there's a couple interesting games here. I mean, I basically passed on most things today, but I definitely want to talk about this Duquesne Fordham game because your model is in stark agreement with me here today. This is one of my picks today. I was able to get Fordham +2.5 on the show this morning. I think it's probably back around 2. I mean, what do you make of this? I mean, the wrong team looks favored on a lot of models, yours included. Like, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, right there with you. My model makes them -2, so pretty, meaning a possession the other way. I think that's a pretty big deal, especially you like to see things like that when it's a team that also is the home team, right? That
Right.
definitely is a stronger indicator. You can usually kind of make more sense of it when it's a road team, where it's just like, okay, they're obviously, devaluing or valuing the other side because of home court potentially, but not in the spot. The model is right there with you, -2. I'd be lying to you if I told you I've watched either team really play, because I truly haven't. It's just a math game at this point for me. Like,
Right.
almost
Yes.
everything I do in every sport really is like there. Of course, I watch things and make adjustments, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just true math play. I don't have anything on it, but I'm glad that it matches up with where you're looking.
I mean, it wasn't only your model; it's a lot of models on this today. I mean, Hasla has it as a 5-point win. Ken Palm has it as a 4-point win. I said that in my blurb today. I can't believe that Ken Palm's off by 6.5 points in the line right now. He has a 69-65 win for Fordham, which is crazy. That's crazy. I'm seeing Fordham by like 4 or 5 points all
I mean,
over. I mean,
it's
yeah,
their first game of the year in the 2020. I haven't played since the 30th.
2022. Yeah.
Yeah, it's two. You're right. It's almost 2 weeks. I think that
Yeah.
maybe it's some of what we've talked about with the longer layoff that's been baked into the lines now at this point. We've
Yes.
typically seen lines shaded by like 1.5 to 2 points. This one here is suggesting it's probably 4. Again, I make it -2. The other models you're quoting make it 5. I'd like to pretend that I'm feel better about my number than some of the 5s, but I think that's certainly where I would look at the +2 there. So
Well, yeah, I agree, and their efficiency has been improving all season. They're outperforming expectations. Duquesne is tricky, honestly. Duquesne feels tricky. They actually just came off of a very impressive win against UMass and
yeah.
UC Irvine. So they've been playing some good ball, but this is going to be an interesting one. I don't really know if they're going to be able to go on the road. They've had some bad losses against DePaul, against Northeastern, against Hofstra.
Yeah.
Bowling Green beat them. I think they can lose this game pretty easily. And again, we just need to lose. We just need to lose by 1 or 2. 2 we push. Actually, no, we have 2.5. So 2 we win. And I think Fordham's going to keep this one close and has a good shot to win. So I love this pick today. Probably one of my favorites of the afternoon. So
Yeah, they've covered some important games. Like to see
yeah,
it. They covered the St. John's game. They covered the Miami game. If you're covering against those schools, that's going to go a long way against these kind of opponents for sure. So
definitely. But
um,
all right, we got some questions. So Mr. Kevin Cassidy here, we just talked about Fordham. What about this Minnesota +11.5? I mean, I'll tell you, when I saw that line today, I was like, I just don't trust this team.
yep.
I don't know what you think about that.
I've
I've
got
bet
it
on
at the
them a
bottom,
bunch.
so I'm right there. I really thought I was going to get to play Minnesota. Honestly, I really thought I did. I was going to. I was expecting the model to come in and say this should only be 10, and it doesn't. It says Michigan State -11.9. If you follow betting signals, I suppose that Minnesota is going to be tagged as a sharp side here. I can't
Eh,
get to it. Again, I wanted to. I really did. I thought that it was going to be, I thought it was going to tell me Michigan State -9.9 or -10. I was going to feel comfortable enough getting the 12. It didn't happen. My head says I still want to lean with Minnesota here. I'm not going to do it, but that's where my head says. The model says differently. The model says stay away, basically, is what it's saying at an 11.9,
yeah,
11.5 that's
I
moved
mean,
from 12.
there's probably value on them. 3 and 7 ATS their last 10 means that Vegas is probably shading the other way a little bit. Opened at 12, come down a tad. I don't really trust them though. Minnesota has lost this matchup 4 the last 5 times. But they could pull an upset. It's definitely not out of it wouldn't be crazy to see happen. I don't
Yeah.
love the 530 money line. I would probably lean the Michigan State win in a parlay, in a donkey parlay or something. Maybe Minnesota has what it takes to do this, but they haven't been feeling good to me. They've lost both of their last games. They couldn't beat Indiana. They couldn't cover against Indiana. They couldn't cover against Illinois. They haven't covered in the last 4 games, but sometimes when that happens, you get a cover because the book basically can't let a team just be easy to fade like that. And they give them a little extra and then they cover. So I don't know. I'm staying way the heck away from this one. It's a good line. It's a sharp line.
Fair.
I don't know if there's gonna be much value.
We got to hit Virginia Tech. Everyone wants to talk Virginia Tech.
All right, let's do it. Virginia Tech, baby.
Be in pretty big disagreement on these.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I personally, one of my non-model picks today is Virginia Tech plus 1.5. I do like this pick. I think that this is a huge rivalry game. This is a huge rivalry. This is gonna be a great game to watch. These teams are gonna go at it. I don't know. What do you think? Where are you at with that? Let me pull it up in your Sims.
So yeah, it's very clear which side I'm on. So I gave this, if you follow Sportsline, obviously almost everyone in here does. If for some reason you don't, obviously make sure you're following Sportsline. We do the thing called the underdog of the day where we give a dog and an under. This was one of the plays that I gave. Our leader, Mr. Coachman, he put out a video today where he talks about the play. But my dog part of the day was Virginia Tech plus 1.5. I make them -3. I think this is going to be an ugly game. It's slow, ugly game. Yeah. Can't really make the case for either team to really be favored here. It's obviously a game both teams are going to get up for and care about. Going to be a very slow pace of play, grinded out game. First team to 60 wins. I really believe that that's what we're looking at here. You see this total here at 114. In the simulations, the model, the market's at 117 on it. Again, that's just what I'm expecting. But the only thing I can give a slight edge to here is Virginia Tech. I think they can win the rebounding battle, and I think they can create enough second chances to win this game. So while I have it at -3, I don't agree with the game being anything more than a pick 'em. Like I think it should be a straight up pick 'em. And when you're given me plus 1.5 at this point with the team that the model says -3, which is just saying they're going to win by a possession. I got to take it. So.
Yep. VT won the last meeting too. I think they want this. It's going to be a good game. Both teams have been a little hot and cold. UVA 6-9 against the spread. Nothing special. 2-6 at home against the spread. 2-7 ATS is a favorite, not really inspiring a lot of confidence here. Money line, again, they may be a little bit better, 5-3 at home for Virginia. But yeah, no, I think this is probably, I want the point. I want that little extra condition there. I don't want to have to win by 2. I'd rather just, basically take a money line with an extra condition on a win on a 1-point loss. I think that has value in a game like that. It sounds like you kind of agree with that type of take. I know you do just technically and how you statistically attack games. That's usually a more valuable side and what's expected to be a close one. So I'm there. It's a non-model pick, but I already had money on it from last night. I think VT is the right way to play. Sorry about the car horns if you can hear that. But let's jump right into next one. I don't know. Maryland Northwestern's really interesting. These teams have played already this year. Let's pull it up in your numbers here. I like the bigger. I like the zoom. I like the scroll in the zoom better than not being able to read anything. But all right, right here, Northwestern Maryland, you have it at 6 points in favor of Northwestern. I mean, this is a good matchup. They've already played this season, like I said. What are you leaning? Are you staying away? Like, what's your thought?
Yeah, I honestly don't have a strong take on it. When I see my model has moved to, right where the market is on this spot, like I'm pretty much dead on total and dead on it. So I don't have much interest at this point in playing it. At that point, I think you can go look to teams that have been good or not. Northwestern has not been good against covering the spread recently. They've been in some games that some that they should have won, but they've been all competitive because they're in conference play now. I mean, you go look at the schedule they have to play. They have to play Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. Like those are games that are just like tougher kind of games for the school. So it makes sense that they haven't been covering. I think that I would lean towards the dog at this point, but it is a road environment for them. So when my model is this close to
on
the
the road
market on it at this point in the day, it's just kind of like I'll pass. And if you have a lean, go for it, but not something I'm overly eager to invest in.
Northwestern went to Maryland. No, sorry. Whoa. Huh. They played both these games at Northwestern? That's so weird. I feel like that's not normal.
No,
but all right.
They were 5.5-point dogs and won by 6 on the road at Maryland.
Oh, really? So Action's just wrong. Action's been so weird, man. You gotta, if you use this app, you definitely need to be a little suspicious of everything that you see, because this says at Northwestern for the head-to-head, and you can just believe that and make it a misinformed take. You definitely need to, use multiple sources. But yeah, Northwestern winning by 6 on the road against this team, and now they're coming to visit. I mean, look, it's been about a month and 5 weeks since these guys met. I don't know how much changes in 5 weeks. And if you believe that the home court advantage right now is worth 3 points, that means it's already a 6-point shift to go all the way from Maryland to Northwestern. So if you think that if the game would technically be played out again, you would expect the last game to be a 12-point win for Northwestern. So I don't really know how this drops 6 points. I lean Northwestern, but it's just a lean. I'd probably stay off, honestly.
Yeah, I would lean the other way on it, but yeah, but it's very clearly a stay away for me.
Definitely a stay away. We're not betting a donkey yet on this one, guys. But all right, Cal Washington is a game I wanted to talk about. Thank you, Jordan. This is a pick that I like here. I'm not a big fan of Washington. I'll tell you that right now. It's probably a little bit of a biased pick for me, but I am not real. I'm taking Cal. I think you agree with it. You have -1.5. Not that you agree, but you have a slight lean on it. I mean, that's kind of where I am too. I have a lean in my model, and then I just feel like I don't trust Washington. So I don't know. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Typically in this spot, I'd rather be backing the team that's at home. Washington's at home in this one, but I'm gonna trust the market on it. It's very similar to that Virginia Tech game in the sense that
it's now Cal +2.
Yes, yeah. It's Washington -1.5, or about to flip to -2. You can get +2. I'm basically a full possession the other way. Which means I think the game should be a true pick 'em. It's always interesting. You always should take note that what the market is telling you, which is that they clearly want to back Washington at -1.5 here. I don't agree with it. So for me, it'd be a stay away, or it would be taking the points with the team that the model thinks should be a pick 'em at worst.
Yep. I think Cal. I played Cal last night at -1, so I'm looking here like a dummy. I should have waited, but that's what happens when you try to strike the iron when it's hot. It's not always easy. We did talk a little bit about Memphis. Apparently, your Sims have a nice edge for Norfolk State, Delaware State. That sounds like a game that I just on principle don't really want to bet. We can take a look at it. You do have 16.5, but these are. I mean, Delaware State is a bad team. Like, we're talking one of the worst teams in D1. So yes, Mike has a 5-point edge on them right now, but that is a tall task, a tough pill to swallow, taking Delaware State +16. I don't know. Do you trust them all that much that you're going to take them, or is a 5-point edge on a 20-point line not enough? Like, what do you think about that when people are looking at your Sims?
It's really close. It's up to -21. I think you can lean that way with the dog. I mean, you still got to go out and win and buy more than 21 points in these games. Look, they've been horrible, right? They haven't won a game. They're 0-10. They're 3-7 against the spread. The team they're playing, though, Norfolk State, they are 7-3 against the spread, which means they've been covering, which means you're mostly buying in at a high point. You're obviously at about as low of a point as you can get on the other side. I would lean that way, but that's certainly not one of the games that I'm like overly excited to go invest in. Like, I think that out of all the games on here, is there something that I could be missing in the simulation? this would be one of them potentially also. Just
Norfolk
we
has
have
beaten them by 30 or 28 and 31 in the last 2 meetings. They dominated them the last 2 years. I love the model, but this one, these big spreads, like you won't see me on 20-point lines a lot because they come with so much variance. Like a book gives a 20-point spread when there's a decent chance at a 30-point win or at a 10-point win, but like because it just, you don't know how this team's going to approach it. They might be okay just saying, all right, we got it to 20. We're not losing this. Let's put on the bench, give the second guys some time, and Delaware State makes a late run to backdoor cover this. Like the game is just going to be so far out of hand before the final whistle is blown that like maybe you want to bet Norfolk State first half, honestly. That might be how you play it because they're going to take maybe that a little more seriously, but then they also might only blow it out at the end of the game. They might play tough the first half. I don't know. I'm far away from it. This game scares the heck out of me. There is so many more concrete edges that you can find that isn't going to be on a team that's literally like 350th in the nation.
Yeah, it's definitely a high variance spot. I mean, I would lean that way still, to be honest with you. I would lean that way, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand
betting it. I'm not going to watch it. I can tell you that for sure.
No, please don't watch this game unless you put an inordinate amount of money on it, and I don't think either of us recommend that either. No. Mr. Tim is asking about Pacific. Yeah, we have a couple comments to get to. We're gonna get to them. Pacific is 2-12 ATS. What are my thoughts there? Well, look at that handsome face, Mr. Tim. I agree. I'm really not a fan of Pacific. I am going to go the other way. I like Santa Clara -6 on this one. Let's pull it up in the Sims.
Minus 8.4 is my simulation number on that.
Right at the top. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think this one's that's almost like a play for me if I was just running it on Mike's numbers alone. 2.5 points of edge. The market has moved it from 7. So I don't know how you consider that, but I think it was 6 last night. So my guess is it was a pretty quick adjustment to 6. Not really like the market beating it down, but sharp signal on Pacific. I don't know. I can't trust Pacific at all, man. And they're not great. Any thoughts there? I mean, do you just trust the model?
Yeah, I definitely trust the model. I'm not watching these kind of games. You know that about me. Trust a computer. Yeah. Coach K, we're seeing news again. Yes, Coach K was confirmed out tonight. Just like we said, basically, we've now seen it move to 5.5. So if you did like Wake when we talked about it, you had about 7 minutes where you could grab it, which is wild, even with a team as high profile as Duke. Before the movement hits, it's a much slower in college basketball. So we'll see.
We love to see it. You can definitely get a point or two on the model, or not on the model, on the market. You can get half a point on the market pretty quick. But all right, let's see what else. Boise State, Nevada. I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I like that Boise State side. I know there was a pick on it on the early edge. If you haven't watched it, I think Zach put his pick up on the site too. But I don't have a real feel on that one. Nevada's kind of tricky. I don't know, Mike. What do you think here? We can find it in the Sims here first.
Yeah, find wherever I'm at on it. Obviously, I don't have.
Here we go. 2.5. You have Boise winning by 2.5, and they're +0.5 right now on most places.
Boise is.
Yeah, you can get them plus. You can get Boise +1 at FanDuel at the moment.
Okay. That's the way I would lean, unless I've clearly missed something. No,
I don't think you have. Nevada's won this matchup for the last 5 times.
I mean, I can tell you why it is. It's literally exactly what I talked about earlier, and it's hilarious because we basically have talked about exactly how much a team is shaded. I mentioned earlier, 1.5 to sometimes 2. That's the amount that teams are getting shaded right now when they have a 10+ day layoff. That's exactly what Boise State has. They haven't played in 15 days. 2 points, basically. That's the difference between where it is in the market, where the simulation number is on this one. At that point, once you give them the full possession at 2.5, in terms of being the underdog, I will definitely take it. So
I like how that basically boils down to Vegas being like, yeah, they're a little rusty. They'll miss one more bucket than they should. Like, that's it. 2 points. So It feels like a lot to us who like nickel and dime games because these lines come in so sharp at the end of the day, and you're like, how the heck did Vegas predict that? But it's just a lot of simulations, and it's a lot of trials of what we think is going to happen. So I don't know. I like Boise. I think they're a strong team, well coached program. I'm not very partial to Nevada in that same type of sense. So my gut says Boise, but I don't have a pick on it. Zach's been hot though, so I'm not going to totally reveal which side he's on, but go check that out, the site or the show from this morning. I think he's like he was like on a 6-0 site run, and then he lost. I was on that St. Louis game too yesterday. They blew it at the very end, but he probably should have had that 7-0 run. But he's hot. He's seeing the game very well right now, which is telling of how crazy it is because Zach bets in a very contrarian style. Like he takes like a very opposite look than a lot of people do. So when he's running hot, like obviously it's because he understands this game and the nuances of it. But when it gets nuanced like this in the middle of conference play, you definitely want to make sure your eyes are open because it's been crazy, man. What Baylor lost last night. They lost. Not even didn't cover. They lost to Texas Tech. It was like plus 13 or something. So we're seeing crazy stuff out there. Big teams. Kent State lost on a minus 1,800 money line last night. So, be smart. Weird stuff's going to happen in conference play. Take home teams more often than not. But yeah, I don't know. I'll throw my hat behind Boise most likely here if I had to.
I would agree. What's next? How many more games we want to go? Any other thoughts?
Mr. Tate, we talked about Georgia Tech. Oh, did we talk about Georgia Tech? No, we didn't.
I don't think we talked about Wake Forest. We didn't talk about Georgia Tech.
That's an interesting one. We can talk about that. I don't necessarily have a big opinion here. This ACC play is going to be tight. Mike literally has it as a dead tie. Nah, it's a pass. It's going to be a pass for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and see where some of the others are. Where's Tech? Let's see.
It's going to be. Yeah.
I mean, I would lean with them getting a point, but yeah, it's razor thin. Razor thin.
It is like maybe a slight lean towards them, but I could see them losing this to Boston College. They're sneaky. They're a decently coached team. It's going to be tight. It's probably the right pick to take the points, but it's going to be tight. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Notre Dame. I don't think we talked about Notre Dame yet.
We didn't touch that game. It's been interesting though. 3-point spread against Clemson, right?
Yeah. Let's find it in your Sims here.
So
Notre Dame. There it is.
This one was also featured on one of the last few episodes of Market Movers here.
We have talked about this. Yes. Clemson's playing decently.
They are. We talked about Notre Dame over North Carolina. We took them as plus 1.5 dogs. They won outright 78-73. Big win.
They won 2 days ago.
Beat against that Georgia Tech team. Clemson, though, they were favorites. They lost that game against Virginia. I don't even know why I watched part of that game, but I did. I wasn't betting on it. It just happened to be on. But I did remember watching it. I know why. Is because they played them back-to-back. Their last game was the 22nd. That's the one I watched, not the most recent one. That's one that they won. Yeah, up and down on the Clemson side. So I lean towards Notre Dame. The markets move this one a touch down to 2.5. If it somehow gets to 2, I think I really like them as as the team here. They are at home in this game, so
it's probably a pass for me. I've been making some money on Clemson. When I feel like I want to go against a team that's been doing well, I usually just give it a rest and I see how they do and I let them show me what's up rather than like trying to go the other way and like trying to get all their games right. It's pretty hard to pick every game on the team. Like you want to pick your spots. So if you find yourself picking every Clemson game, you maybe want to take a break and watch them in an intriguing spot like this personally. But yeah, it should be an interesting one. Slightly in towards Clemson just because they've looked like a good unit. But we got a couple here: Bradley, Tulsa, or Rhode Island. That's interesting. I don't want to bet on that Bradley game personally. I looked at it last night. It's just one of those games where I'm just like, Nah, no thanks. Playing Evansville, they can be sneaky. But
Yep.
I don't know. I think the line's right there at 10.5, Mike, from what I remember last night. But let me look. Yeah, 8.5 now. It was 10. It opened at 10. It's at 8.5. Tough one. I don't trust Bradley. I don't trust Evansville. Bradley's won most of the last games, but covering's been another story. They just covered against Loyola, Illinois, and they're going back home. But yeah, no, I can't pick that game. I think there's better games to pick personally.
Better games to pick. I'm a little stunned. The computer doesn't like Evansville personally, but
well, it does a little.
Does. It does. I mean, it opened at 10. That's Bradley minus 10.3.
Yeah.
The game opened at 10. It's moved to 8. Like I think 8.5, somewhere in there.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it's a keen stay away. It's a keen stay away. All right. What about? Tulsa. Tulsa looks interesting to me. I don't know. I think honestly, I kind of like them. I'm not sure that. I think they might be one of the teams I picked. No, I almost picked them last night.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I mean, it's right there. You can see the Sims. They're playing Temple. I think I just felt like Temple has been playing pretty well recently, and it's just kind of tough for me to back or not back them. So I like Tulsa too, though. I stayed off. I thought this was a pretty sharp line in most places, essentially.
Yeah, the Temple team is one, like I think it's okay to continue to fade them. The fact that they covered that game against Houston gives me a little pause. That was one I wasn't really expecting them to at 11.5. Like they could have won that game. So I don't know. I don't have a great feel for it. I think it's okay to lean towards Tulsa in it, but I think there are better spots to play tonight for sure.
Agreed. I think Temple could easily shock you there. I personally would play other bets before I took Tulsa. I think I probably lean Temple, weirdly enough. But all right. Cool. A couple other ones that I maybe wanted to talk about briefly if we didn't get to your comment. I do apologize. Again, you can come into the Discord and find all these models. You can, look into KenPom. That does cost $20 a year for KenPom, but it's worth it. Haslametrics.com is free. Bart Torvik is free. Shot Quality is now behind the paywall. Jeff Sagarin's conference rankings are really good. Those are free. And with all that information, you can start to figure out a really nice picture of these games. That's kind of what I do. My model just kind of now does that for me and remembers historical data and compares it against final data. So, but we talked about a bunch of the games I like, but I definitely want to finish sort of giving out the picks that I have. We're getting close to an hour here. But let's talk about this ECU Cincinnati game. I took this last night at ECU plus 10.5. I got to find it here. It's probably going to be closer to the bottom. Cincinnati, East Carolina, right? So you have 9.5. So I guess you agree with me a bit. It's now plus 11. Opened 9.5. I know this ECU defense isn't great, but I think that they can score enough against the Cincinnati team, who also just hasn't been all that great. I just think this is a little bit too big of a spread. Any thoughts there and at all?
I mean, I just think it's a high variance game, but yeah, I mean, at that number, I definitely think there are a number of scenarios here where they stay within the 10.5 or 11 that you're finding. So I would take, especially if you're finding 11s out there, I would lean with Eastern Carolina.
Yep. Mr. Tom Fornelli just decided to go with Florida -3. So that'll be interesting. Jeweler, play the showdown music, man.
Hit the music, Jeweler.
We do not have that here, and I'm not really in the singing mood today. If I hit all my picks, I'll sing for you guys on Friday. But no, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm not threatening that for real. I am joking. But all right. Another interesting game that I have down on my sheet is I like Illinois State. This is kind of a weird one. I'm gonna fade Drake. I'm gonna take Illinois State plus 11.5, plus 12.5. And really quickly for Shannon here, who's asking about the Cincinnati East Carolina game under. Mike, obviously loves this. He has 139. I'm just going to blindly go with Mike here and say yes. The worry again is that East Carolina team. They do allow a lot of points, so I wouldn't play it myself, but clearly Mike's model's gonna lean with you there.
Yep.
But let's hear what you think about this Illinois State Drake game, Mike. What do you think about this Drake team? I feel like they're getting a lot of respect for last year.
They are.
They haven't been good.
Yeah, they definitely have not been great. They are at home. As far as Illinois State, I mean, thing I can tell you about them, we watched the games because we bet on them, right? They didn't cover against Chicago State.
Right.
It's a problem when you can't cover 10.5 at Chicago State.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're not great schools. They had a signature game, though. The one thing that I think is propping them up here or reason why you might like them is that Wisconsin game. They only lost by 4 at Wisconsin and scored 85 points against Wisconsin. That is a very interesting thing. But as far as them versus Chicago State, like you need to look at the market a little bit, right? So Drake was minus 24.5 against Chicago State and covered. Illinois State was minus 10.5. There's a 14-point difference, almost exactly where my sim is at 13.6 against those two teams. I lean towards Drake in it at the current number. What is it, 13?
I think it's 11.5, 12.5 right now. Yeah. I don't know. Drake just lost to Missouri State. Drake only beat Evansville by 1 point, Mike. Yeah, they were on the road, but that might be just as bad as the Chicago State not being able to cover. Only beating Evansville by a point just does not inspire confidence. That's the most recent game that they played. I mean, sure, they beat up on Chicago State, but they should beat up on Chicago State. They should beat up on U10 Martin. Like, I understand why Illinois State might have a tough, might be able to stay competitive with those teams, but that's the same reason why I feel like Drake could maybe, Illinois State's the mid-tier of this conference. So I don't know. I think it's going to be closer than people expect. They only beat Omaha by 8. They could let them hang around and just be happy taking an 8-10 point win and not try to cover
Illinois State. You like Illinois State. I like Drake. We'll put the number at 12. Are we donkey showdown on Drake minus 12?
You won't give me 12.5.
12.
All right.
It's sitting at 11.5.
Fine.
And
I see 12.5. I'm seeing 12.5 on okay. Caesar says 13, Mike. So I'll give you 12. I'll give you 12 because you want to know what? We love it. I'll take a donkey on 12. They're going to cover. It's going to be 8 points. I'm going to get my donkey back from last time.
Yep. All right. Perfect. Donkey showdown at 12 on Drake. We have to leave the 12 there. We're no halves. We want the idea of a push. I like the idea of the push potentially here. So let me hit one more before we go, or before you go to a next one, because Pento JA, TCU, Kansas State under 137.5. Yeah, huge difference in the model on this one. Not only my model, some of the others that I looked at too. Because when I saw the difference in mine, I immediately went to look at others to see, am I missing something here? I've got a 10-point edge on this one. I've got all the way down to 127.2. You look at this, it's a conference game. We expect these conference games to get a little bit more competitive. Typically this time of year, this is when it starts to get a little more competitive, a little slower. TCU is a pretty slow team. Kansas State, average to slightly below average. Neither one of these teams is great in terms of efficiency on the offensive end. I just think the number is slightly too high. You see my projected score here, simulated score 62 to 60 potentially. I think it's right in that range. I think if any one of these teams hits 70 points, first one to 70 wins this game pretty comfortably. So I do like the under here. If you follow on Sportsline, this was the under of the day. So we have the underdog with
this play
and the under. This was my under at 137.5 on TCU Kansas State. Now we just have to
find that line. You can still find that line of DraftKings.
Yeah.
which is awesome. I definitely agree. I think these games can slow it down. So yeah, I think that's a good one. Let me just finish off. Anyone who stayed here, who, you know, we definitely appreciate you guys hanging out, helping the show grow. We're excited that Market Movers is back for 2022. We're going to be here Friday as well. We should be probably at our normal noon time. We talked about my picks today so far that aren't from the model. The model picks are on the show, the early edge, and on Sportsline, but I like ECU plus 10.5. Illinois, I'm taking plus 12 against Mike for the donkey. We both like VT plus 1.5. I lean Cal. Mike does 2. Plus 2 right now is probably a little bit too good. We talked about Santa Clara over Pacific. We trust the model there. And then my last pick of the day, this is maybe one of my favorite non-model picks of the day for me. How do you feel about this Utah Valley team against Seattle? I mean, you agree with me. You have Utah Valley getting a little bit of a slight edge. I cannot believe this line. I got Utah Valley plus 1, plus 1.5 right now.
Wow.
Seattle has one of the worst schedules that has been played all year. Only 2 teams have played a worse schedule than Seattle. They've played nobody. And Utah Valley is not bad. I don't know. I like this Utah Valley team. It might be a little bit of bias. I can't believe that they're underdogs. Can't believe it.
It is. I mean, I can believe it, but they're not great schools. But yeah, I trust the model on it, so I'm glad that you're on the same side there.
They haven't played any. They've played nobody decent, and Utah Valley has seen some decent schools. They've played some decent games. They play Wyoming. They play Washington. They play Southern Utah. They played BYU. They played, against some. So they played Boise to open the year. I like this. This is my last non-model pick of the day. Should be a good one. Should be a close battle, but I think Utah Valley ultimately has a good chance to potentially run away with it, right? And so when you look at how these games have a chance, like the distribution of the way that the results could come in, I just see a pretty high lean on that side of that we could see a Utah Valley win by a good amount, and I don't see that for Seattle as much. So that's why I make my pick. But all right.
Cool.
Going to be a great afternoon of basketball. So excited for it to start in 3 hours. I hope you all enjoy. I hope you all had fun hanging out. We'll be here Friday.
We will be here Friday. I will have at least 1 additional donkey in the Phantom wallet over there. Probably 10 more because I'm probably going to go shop for some more donkeys here in a few minutes. But
I just bought one the other day. Someone from the Discord bought that leopard that I had my eye on. So shout out to that. That was a great buy. Wow. I'm a little annoyed. I wanted that. I was looking at it, but that's how it goes when things start getting popular. But yeah, come hang with us in the Discord. We'll see you guys all soon.
Yep. See you guys.